Let's see. So the reason we're doing it, I say that is because um, we're doing this for RPG Archive. Little spoiler alert there. And he was gonna do this one originally, but he didn't want. He's had things he wanted to say that he didn't want on here.
And I
Um,
still won't say that.
so I'll probably give some spoilers of what you might find over there, but I'm basically done with it. I'm at the end of chapter 17. I'm not sure it's flipped over to 18. I'm in the middle of a cutscene right now, but yeah, I'm basically at the end, so I'm pretty comfortable with my opinion on it. Um, 7 Remake obviously is the first of 3 installments that will cover the Final Fantasy 7 gamut, because that's the one game that they just cannot let go of. Nor should they, I guess, if it keeps making the money. I was originally going to play that. There's a Final Fantasy 7 game on mobile now. It was called like Ever Crisis or something like that. And I was literally gonna play that for this. And so I downloaded it and I opened it, and I could not. It took me 5 minutes just to start the combat because it kept trying to get me to buy things. And I just said, you know what, fuck it, I'm so done. And that's like a whole nother rant too, where I'm just like, I want mobile games to not make me hate them so much. And I want there to be mobile games where it's like, oh, this is like a good platform for games. And they make it so difficult to like anything on phones. You can't you can't just make a game for it. And which is so weird because there's entire consoles that have millions of games on them. Modern consoles that have games on them. And then they just cannot do it for mobile. I don't know what the reason is for that, but Ever Crisis is just another shitty cash grab. So anyway, I decided, you know what, fuck it. I've been playing this a lot, so I'll talk about Remake. Final Fantasy VII Remake. If you're living under a rock, it's a 3D recreation of the game. It's got some major differences, although I would say it still follows the same vein and still keeps in line with what you would expect. Graphically, it's beautiful. Um, with the catch on that being, it's a little bit jarring because a lot of the game has dialogue in it, and you're talking to people in like a quest kind of manner. And I recently have played a couple playthroughs of Baldur's Gate 3, and that actually makes this game look like trash in the like the conversation department. Not quite fair because it's not
Ooh.
really what they were going for, but it's interesting because this game does look really good and has high production values, but doesn't the characters just seem a little more dead once you played a game like Baldur's Gate. Or even I would even argue like The Witcher 3 does does conversations better than this game. But this game is a JRPG, so a lot of that Western influence they seem to ignore, which is whatever. It's cool to see the characters in 3D. I think that's the theme of the game is, hey, it's cool to see this in 3D. That's certainly how I felt for through most of it. The combat is action with like a hint of turn based to it. It's not really like people said that it's basically you could play it turn based. I don't really agree with that, although I guess you theoretically kind of could. But no, it's an action RPG. It's silky smooth, and I like that all the characters, because you can switch between Tifa, Aerith, and Barrett, and obviously Cloud. All the characters have their own play style, and you can even change their play style with the weapons you get. And then the materia system's there. It's really cool. It's good. If you played 7, that's the materia system. Um, it's generally positive, but I guess I'll get down into some of the weird criticisms. We talked about 13 earlier and how it was like a hallway simulator. This game is pretty much a hallway simulator. It has moments where you get this like open world almost feel to it. And those moments are so refreshing because that's when you actually get to explore Midgar, which I think is what people really wanted out of a Final Fantasy VII game. And those moments really offer this glimpse into the world, and they're outstanding. And then for a lot of it, they're like, now that you've explored, go down this hallway and you'll know exactly where to go because we'll put the quest marker right there. Um, I don't know if I mean that gets into a whole discussion of like, are you being tricked by a game at times? Are you being fooled? And did 13 just not fool you enough? Or is 7 like we're so blinded by the fact that we like 7 that we were happy enough to see everything in 3D and in like really good graphics? And that brings into the conversation: does graphics make a video game? In general, our community says no, and they usually say like, "Well, I don't care what it looks like as long as it plays well." I think this game represents the counterpoint to that. It's a very good looking game, and it's fun to just see the next spot. So I don't know. I have complicated feelings about this game, but in general, I will say that I like it, and it's worth a playthrough.
Nice. I agree with you. I am gonna hold on, guys. I am gonna hop off, but I have also, like Spencer, I am gonna say that I do have very complicated feelings about this game, and I can't wait to talk about it when its archive.
Yep,
So,
we'll do it.
all right, everybody, have a good rest of the episode. I gotta go to bed.
See you, Alex.
Peace.
Spencer, you know how in 15, as you progress through the game, chunks of the world become available, and at some point, chunks of the world become unavailable? Does Seven's remake kind of tease the player with that, where it's like, oh yeah, you said you were in chapter 17, going on 18, whatever. Does it feel segmented with parts of the world, or as you explore? Like, this is what's so good about most Tales games and the older Final Fantasies. Usually, once you expand the boundaries of your world via raft or airship or whatever, the rest of the world remains open to you. Does it do that?
For most of the game, yeah, but it doesn't offer major incentive to do so. Like once you've done all the quests that are in um, the main little city, the first city in Midgar, there's really no reason to go back. I mean, you might have to go to Seventh Heaven to continue the story, but there's not like a continuous quest chain there. The new quests get added there. Maybe there is, and I just missed them. I don't know. But for my playthrough, I just didn't feel pulled to do anything or explore that any more than I did. There is a point of no return. There's a couple of those actually, so that exists. But even so, the game is not really open world. Think of like, did you play Dragon Quest 11?
No.
Okay, so Dragon Quest 11. One of my big problems with it is that it makes you feel. It wants to make you feel like it's open world, and it gives you like this great view of the world, but it's a highly instanced experience. Right. And there's a lot of like if you're just looking at the world, you're like, oh, I'm going down a mountain path. That's cool. Mm-hmm. Like I can see the mountains, I can see formations here, I can see all this cool like stuff. But when you really look at what the game is, and you're noticing, oh, there's a mini map. So if you look at the mini map, it's like, here's the world where you're at, and then it's a straight line.
Yeah.
And it might zig, it might zag, but it's a straight line. There is no turning off of it. And a lot of the game is that. And I think, ironically, if they would have just gotten rid of the mini map, you would have been more fooled than if you weren't. Who's to say what the right decision is there? But again, I have mixed feelings. But I would have preferred to explore Midgar in a more open way. And if they were to have made a big world, like a GTA almost, but in Final Fantasy of Midgar, holy shit. Like that would have been incredible. Now I hear that the second one is a lot more open world, which is interesting, and I can't wait to try it and see what they do with that. But as it stands, this is a very straightforward game.
When you say the second one, what is the second one?
Well, there's three iterations. This is the first episode. There's a second one that came out this summer, and it's more open world. It's like after Midgar. You're doing like
they're only up to the second episode?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hasn't this game been announced for like 10 years?
Yeah, the first one came out
3 or 4 years
ago?
2020. Yeah,
Yeah.
2021, 20.
And then the next one just came out this summer, so the third one's gonna come out in probably, who knows, like 4 years or something.
They're moving at a snail's pace. You know, I think if this game came out as a full thing in 2020, it probably would have had a shot at being like one of those great games. But I think it's getting outpaced right now, just from the sounds of it. And besides which, who the fuck plays Final Fantasy VII past Midgar? And that's a joke. I mean, you know, we finished it, but you know, when we're talking Final Fantasy VII and the most memorable parts, it really everybody thinks of Midgar.
I
So
agree with that.
like, I think like when you're going like episode 3. Like it's only going downhill like theoretically, and then I've just kind of watched along as somebody who I played Final Fantasy VII for the first time in 2021, was it, you know, all the way through. I had dabbled in it before, but you know, I kind of watched along as this game was getting announced and people were like, oh yeah, the Final Fantasy VII remake, like it's gonna be great, it's gonna be great. And then they did this episode crap. I was just like, it was like really like I didn't understand, like, I think like you're saying the blinders being on to some of the way the game is being rolled out.
Hmm.
How have you thought or felt about, and both of you guys, the rollout of this remake over the years?
Um, I'm okay with it. This game alone is about 40 hours of playthrough, and it's just Midgar. But like you said, I think Midgar is the most popular part of Final Fantasy VII. So I think they really wanted to take their time and go through it. Now I haven't played the second one. I want to, and I'm excited to do so. But part of me is confused of like, are they really like gonna give short service to those other pieces of the story? Because Midgar was like 5 hours in the first one, or in the original. So it's weird to see that. And I heard that the other game is about the same length, or maybe a little longer. But if you want to do everything, I'm sure it's much longer because it's open world. But like 40 to 60 hours, I'm sure is the playtime of two. And it's like there's a lot of other stuff going on that I can imagine. I can't imagine that there's like a lot as much detail as there is here. So I'm curious to see, but I'm kind of cool with them releasing it in episodes. I know that they're going to play much different because of the style.
Mm-hmm.
But I've heard other people tell me that they're very disappointed it's coming out in chapters. One of my friends was like, "I'll just wait till they're all released," and I'm like, "It's gonna be like 4 or 5 years, dude." But go nuts. The guy has already said that it made it. I think it's Tetsura or whatever. He said that, or whatever his name is. He said that it's gonna be the best game of all time, and I'm like, well, I don't know. That remains to be seen. But I mean, the series it has sold really well, so
Sure.
it's kind of working. If they sold it at once, it wouldn't. It would only sold one time.
Mm-hmm.
There's logic there, I guess.
Yeah. And they're getting boosted sales every time it comes to PC, which is nice for them. They get to do that 3 times over. I don't know. You know, I remember the initial response by whatever internet forums I was lurking at the time that the initial announcement was made that, yeah, Final Fantasy VII is being remade, but it's going to be over the course of multiple installments. And at the time, people didn't know that it was just going to be 3. There was speculation that for a game like that, how do you properly chop it up? How would they want to spread it out? I think once people started hearing a number of years as an estimate, it was like, oh God, that means they're going to be planning something like 7 installments for this game. Um, Personally, you know, I thought it was a stupid decision at the time. And now my opinion hasn't shifted that much. I understand it more as a business decision, but I feel like it also carries a lot of risk. And if I compare it to a game like Elden Ring, which I loved, you know, Elden Ring easily gets into my top 15 games of all time. I lost interest before the DLC came out. I was excited when the announcement was made, and I feel like it got to the point where I'll just play Shadow of the Erd Tree whenever. At this point, because you know I've even missed uh, the hype window with the Shadow of the Erd Tree's launch. I can wait for it to go on sale. I can play it at my leisure, whatever. And I imagine, you know, maybe kind of similar to Spencer, I'd play the first installment. Now you're ready to go on to the second, like that, pretty much.
Yeah,
Okay,
I
so
think so.
my own way of doing it, I guess, is I can imagine myself playing the first installment if I had it, and then just being like, yeah, I can't wait for the next one to come out. 1 year passes, 2 years pass, 3 years pass. And then I know that the third installment is going to be another 3 years after that. I'll just play the second installment leading up to it. So
Mhm.
very questionable. I think, like I said, I think the best way to describe that kind of business strategy is risk. It carries a lot of inherent risk in it because you are at risk of losing your player base the longer that you wait to feed them. And people don't like pieces, people like whole things. I don't know. I don't really have many strong opinions of it, like as a gamer or as a fan. Like I told you guys earlier in this episode, I like the games that I like. I can go back and replay them at any point. Anything that any company now does, whether it's a favorite title of mine, a favorite series of mine, or a new IP, just throw them all on the board and see what sticks. And if that's what they want to do this time, sure, go ahead and we'll see what sticks. I like though that people are enjoying it at least. Can you? I think it would be a lot worse, even for non-fans of the game, if Final Fantasy VII was resurrected after so long and it was disappointment followed by
Sure.
disappointment. I'm happy at least that it's garnering a lot of success.
I've been considering to. I'm rereading The Hobbit right now, and I remember when those movies came out. People were like, "How do you turn this 300-page book into 3 movies? What the hell are they doing?" And everyone was so mad about it. And I never cared. I was like, "Hell yeah, I'll take 3 movies of more Lord of the Rings." I get to see like this world and like some of my favorite characters and like these concepts. And that book is so loved and romanticized as well. That even now I don't care. Like it doesn't matter to me that they stretched it out. They're literally like doing the book to a T, like they're doing like not every word, but it kind of feels like it. So I can kind of see the perspective of, oh yeah, I get to see more Final Fantasy VII. Hell yeah. Um, I guess it's just maybe it is the approach thing that kind of rubs me the wrong way. Like I don't know how much are each of those episodes?
Full
60
price.
They're
bucks.
full price, yeah.
So I'm spending $180. I don't know. I guess I'd have to be a mega fan at that point.
Well, but it's still like 3 games. Like if you look at the hours that it takes to play each one, it depends on your perspective, I guess. But
Yeah.
like it's still like just Midgar is about 40 hours, and it has an ending. I haven't played the second, so I can't really speak to where that ends or what's going on there. But uh, I got my money's worth out of this one.
Okay.
I mean, again, it depends your perspective on it because there are also games that are full price that you could spend 300 hours in or 1,000 hours in. So it's like, like a Zelda kind of like a newer Zelda, you could spend hundreds of hours in it. Does that make it worth more than a game that takes 30 hours? I don't know. It's
I don't know. I mean,
each his own.
40 hours is a great metric. I mean, I think the thing is though, like it's just a different mindset. Like I'm playing a trilogy of games and one that's incomplete. I'm not playing a standalone title.
I mean, I think part of it is that it originally released as a full game. But like what if Star Wars episodes 4, 5, and 6 released as one story? Like then
Huh.
would you look at them releasing it one by one as I mean, let's be real though. I mean, we all know why they did it. It's for corporate greed. So like let's not pretend that that's not why.
Yeah.
They did that for a second, but I don't know. I just think it's a matter of perspective, and some people might not like it, and they haven't. They told me that, and then other people are like, "Cool, Final Fantasy VII, I'll play it." And you know,
Sure.
I'm in the
If
second
people
camp.
enjoy it, like all power to them.
Yeah, I'm watching him
7
cross
remake?
dress right now. It's the cross dressing scene. They really go all out on that one.
It's a different time. It's not that different after all.
Yeah, it's pretty on point. I feel.
Yeah.
Do you like, maybe for one last question on Remake as a whole, do you feel like they have done a good job remaking it with a different vision, or have they kept too close to the original stories? And or do you even like that if that's the case, that they've remained tight and similar, or have they strayed?
I think where they've strayed is a mistake. I think they made some choices that I find annoying. They dealt more with the concept of fate, which they always do in Final Fantasies for some reason. And I think here it really crosses the line of what I think is just really stupid.
Peep.
Yeah. It's like you'll get in a fight and this always kind of bugs me too, is you'll win a fight like HP wise, and then the cutscene after has you losing the fight. That's a real cool thing. But you'll lose the fight, and then like these, I don't want to get too into it for spoilers, but these creatures will change the way that the fight went, and you'll have recovered from it. And they're like, you weren't meant to die here. And it's like, whenever you get that in video game or in movies, it doesn't really matter. But whenever you get that shit, it's like, well, then what the fuck are we doing? Like, why do I have this sword? Like, what's the point? I'll just walk to the end game, and just if I'm supposed to live, then there you go. I always get irritated by stuff like that, and this game has an element of that. But if you, I mean, as a gamer, I've seen it all, so it's like whatever. I can move past it. But yeah, what they've added to the story, I don't think adds to it, and you know, that's my thoughts on it.